All right, so let's start thinking about chemistry. So naturally, first we want to start off by defining what is chemistry, which is a bit more complex than you would think. But we're going to stick with a simple definition. So we're just going to say that chemistry is the study of matter. And then, of course, naturally, the next question that comes up is what is matter? So we're going to define matter as anything that has mass and takes up space. Right, so it's got a mass and a volume. So if you think about that, well, that's practically everything, right? That's a whole lot of stuff. And chemistry is indeed a broad topic, but it's not quite that broad. So in general, in chemistry, what we focus on is we focus on atoms and molecules. And we call these the building blocks of our universe. So let's go ahead and think about this in terms of an analogy. So here's our analogy. You're watching TV or on your computer, right? And you see this beautiful image of, in this case, this little island with a house on a lake, right? So what we as chemists do is we try to zoom in. And we try to picture what we see, right? So in this case, maybe what you see when you zoom in here is you see a yellow pixel, right? And so that's what you see when you zoom in on this little part of that picture. And then when you further zoom in, what you then might see is an array of colors, in which case there are only 3 different colors, right? Most TVs are just going to be made of these 3 different colors, right? Green, red, and blue. So when we zoom in further and further, we get into a simpler kind of system. And in this case, if you think about TVs, kind of what you're thinking about is these 3 colors that can be combined to make all these different colors. And then all these different colors can be combined to make all kinds of different images. Well, we've got the same thing in chemistry. So for example, we're going to go ahead and take our little cup of water. So this is my bad picture of water. And water is then our kind of our matter, our stuff. So just like we did with the computer screen, we might want to zoom in on this, right? What do we see when we zoom in on this? Well, when we zoom in on water, what we'll see is a whole bunch of water molecules. As most of you probably know, water is H2O, right? 2 hydrogens and an oxygen, right? So this is called a molecule. And a molecule is atoms held together by chemical bonds. But of course, what we could do with one of these is zoom in even further, right? So we could take a look at one of these atoms that make up a molecule, and we could zoom in even more. And then what we'd see is an atom slash element. And so these atom slash elements, in the middle, there's a nuclei. And we'll learn all about this in deeper context later on. In which case there's protons and neutrons. And then orbiting these nuclei are our electrons. But you can see, similar to how you can zoom in on a TV, we can zoom in on real life matter and see what it's made out of. And this right here is the field of chemistry. This is the kind of zone of chemistry. We take a look at atoms and elements and we see how they combine in molecules. And then we take these molecules that make up all matter and we think about how these small interactions between these atoms and molecules give the properties that the matter has. And so why would we bother with this? Why do we care about this? Well, if we think about what matter is, all matter is going to be made out of these atoms and these elements. So for example, here's a pen or a pencil. Graphite made out of carbon atoms. That's actually the same exact thing that diamond is made out of, right? So diamond and graphite both totally made out of carbon. but the way that they are interacting and bonding with one another give completely different macroscopic properties. Same thing with plastics. Plastics are mostly carbon, also hydrogen as well. But again, completely different from graphite and diamonds. So if we can control our atoms / molecules, we can control matter. And that's what chemistry is really all about. It's trying to control matter, trying to control or trying to make new things that are useful, right? So back to this analogy, in TVs, you've got 3 different colors, right? Red, green, and blue. In chemistry and in the universe, we've got certain amounts of elements, right? So this is our periodic table of elements that we'll learn in deeper, but basically these are our building blocks. All of matter is made out of these elements. If you're curious, yes, you can go deeper than an atom, right? You can think about what atoms are made out of. But in general, in chemistry, we stop at the element level.